Welcome to Ecoholics. In this video we will discuss about the interim budget, that is from the spending side. So here we can say that this we will discuss about spending side of the government, or what we can say the expenditure side of the government. Now whenever we look into the expenditure, we first have to understand that there is always a mention of fiscal deficit. Here fiscal deficit in simple sense means the borrowing of the government. Now you know that the target of fiscal deficit is 3% of the GDP. Now in the recent interim budget, the finance minister of our country announced that the fiscal deficit for this particular year is pegged at 3.4% of GDP. It means it is fall below this particular target. But this year target, that is the target of financial year 2019, the target was 3.3%. It means our country or this particular government breached this particular target by only 10 BPS, that is 10 basis point. So here this is not a big breach according to the target, but here there is a roadmap suggested by the FRBM committee or review of FRBM committee under NK Singh suggested that the fiscal deficit should be 3%, and if there is any deviation from this particular target, there must be some unforeseen circumstances. But here when government breaches this particular target, then government said that in order to improve the spending towards the agriculture sector or towards the farmer, we have to this particular slippages we have to bear. Now in order to understand this particular target of 3%, they have said that 3% of GDP is always a comfortable position for the country, because 3% of GDP is always good, and it is, we can say that it is particularly under control borrowing. Now here this particular slippages is only for one scheme, that is known as the PM Kisan scheme. Now this is Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi. This is a particular scheme. Here we will discuss about the details in this scheme. Now under this scheme, it is simply written that this is the income, that is the income support to the farmers of rupees 6,000 per year. So that is annually annual income support, and that particular income support will be divided into 3 parts. It means of 2,000 each that will be given to the farmers. Now this scheme is applicable from 1st December 2018. It means for these 4 months, December of 2018 and January, February, March of 2019, government allocated rupees 20,000 crore to this scheme, and for the subsequent year, that is for 1920, government allocated 75,000 crore. Now we need to understand that from where this particular amount will come, because on the one hand government is breaching 10 basis point of fiscal deficit. So in order to understand this, we need to see the allocation of other schemes as well. If we are not putting figures into that particular things, we just simply have to understand that about schemes like Manrega, schemes like Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, and schemes like Swachh Bharat Mission. So these 3 schemes experienced a cut into that particular outlay. Swachh Bharat Mission experienced a cut of 25%. So it means from this particular these 3 schemes, because Manrega it was 60,000 crore this year, and it was 61.17 thousand crore. So this was the previous allocation. It means these 3 schemes experienced a cut. That is why government can mobilize these resources to that particular new scheme. Now apart from this, there is an important terminology in that spending account is your total government debt. It means this particular debt target is 40%. So it's 40% of the GDP, but currently it stands around 46.2% of the GDP. So this debt consolidation is also a big headache for the central government. Now this 40% of the GDP is to be achieved by the year, that is by the financial year 2025. So this government can move towards consolidation. If we think about other expenditures as well, like there are two important expenditures. Revenue expenditure and capital expenditure. If we say about capital expenditure, it will grow at 6.2% per year. If we compare the revenue expenditure growth, it is 14.3%. It means your revenue expenditure is growing faster in comparison to the capital expenditure. Now if you know the difference between the two types of expenditure, which one is better. If we compare this data with the previous, that was actually capital expenditure grew at 20% per annum in the previous fiscal, and here it was around 13%. So it means revenue expenditure is growing and capital expenditure is not growing at a faster pace. So it means the investment is also a worry sign, as well as the quality of the expenditure is also an important sign. So here we need to understand that particular expenditure of the government should be of utmost quality. Now what will the benefit of this PM Kisan scheme? Now first of all, it will, to some extent, it will tackle farm distress. So here we can say that this particular income support will be able to cure farm distress in the country. Here farm distress because it will benefit around 12 crore farmers. So this, we can say that these 12 crore farmers is obviously small farmers or marginal farmers. Here it means the farmers are having a land less than 2 hectare or up to the 2 hectare will be eligible for this particular scheme, because this 6,000 income support will be beneficial for consumption. So here this will give a boost to the rural consumption, as well as will give boost to the agriculture stocks. So this is obviously our welcome move by the government. Now apart from this, if we see about the borrowings of the government, that borrowings, gross borrowing, if we think about, it stands around 7.1 lakh crore. If we compare with the previous one, it was 5.73 lakh crore. So here we can say that gross borrowing of the government has increased, and that figures are exclusive of buybacks. Here buybacks mean when government buy their own shares. Apart from this, if we think about the net borrowing, that net borrowing also increase in this particular scenario. If we think about total subsidy bill, that total subsidy bill is 2.97 lakh crore, and the growth of 11% experienced in this total subsidy bill. And in this subsidy bill, we have majorly concerned of food items. So here there is a caution for the government that we need to be spent in the economy very carefully, because on the one hand we have a shortfall of 1 lakh crore into GST receipts. So apart from this, we can understand that if the GST receipts fall short, it means our revenue is not coming and expenditure is hayward, then there is a problem of fiscal deficit. So in order to rationalize these rates, that is looking very we can say grim situation in the near future, that government will rationalize the GST rate structure, because in the past 1 or 2 years government reformed GST rate structure for around 400 commodities from 1200 in total. So here we can say that the 1 lakh crore of shortage of GST revenue will discourage government to reform GST or rationalize the tax rate structure. So I hope you understand all the concepts of this particular interim budget from the spending side or the expenditure side. In the next video, we will discuss from the revenue side. So please like this video, share with your friends, as well as do subscribe my channel Ecoholics for more updates. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.